Did you know that adults spend almost 7 hours of screen time a day? And that doesn't include if they work in front of a computer. 7 hours. I'm not even sure how that's possible. I don't know that I'm awake enough hours to make that happen. But hey, maybe I am. So today we're talking about screen time for adults. This conversation came up because, as some of you may know, I am the chair of my school's SCC, School Community Council, and we had a meeting a little while back, and we're discussing screen time for children and how it's affecting the youth and their development, and how we can maybe start working with families and community members to bring awareness around these challenges. But after I had that meeting, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Our youth, our kids are not the only ones spending time in front of screens. And when I started to do a little bit of digging and looking for some statistics on this, I was a little bit shocked, honestly, on how much time, on average, adults are spending looking at some sort of screen. This would be watching TV, scrolling social media, watching videos, YouTube videos, gaming, etc. Uh, and then, of course, I started to research into what are some of the things that we can do to help ensure we do not have any struggles or consequences from the amount of time that we're spending in front of our screens. So it's kind of a two part. One, can we reduce the amount of time that we're looking at a screen? So that's part of what we'll talk about. And two, because some of us, we do spend time in front of our computers or our screens for work. So some of it's inevitable. How do we make sure that we're looking after ourselves to not have any poor consequences? Some of the things that certainly are the consequences of screen time, too much screen time, is it can affect your sleep. So you can have poor sleep, eye strain, of course. Your mental health can suffer. You can have weight gain. All things that actually, if you just step back and think about it, make sense of having too much screen time, how it can affect it. But let's dive into it a little bit more. So for sleep, one of the things that we talked about were, and I think a lot of us are guilty of this, is we need to stop having our phone or a device beside the bed. We need to stop using the device an hour before bed, especially if you're someone who has trouble sleeping or has trouble staying asleep. Um, so stop using the device at least 1 hour before bed. If you struggle with not scrolling, move the device across the room or leave it in another room. And if you're going to give yourself the excuse of, well, I need it for my alarm clock, guess what? You can still buy alarm clocks that are not a device, and it sits on the end of your end table and tells you what time it is and wakes you up. And they're about $20. So don't use that as an excuse to continue to scroll, because it can really affect your sleep, which will ultimately affect many areas of your life as well, including your mental health. Another thing that they're seeing as a real consequence is, of course, your eye strain. And this has been around for a long time. I've worked many years in front of a computer prior to going into real estate. I worked in IT, where I literally sat in front of a screen and multiple screens, honestly, for 8 hours plus a day. So this is something that, we've talked about for a long time, but frankly, we talk about it, but we don't necessarily do much about it. But it's actually surprisingly easy. There's a 20-20-20 suggestion that basically says every 20 minutes, give your eyes a 20-second break by focusing on something 20 feet or further away. Doesn't actually sound that hard. 20 seconds is not that long. But the hard part is that two pieces. 20 minutes goes by really fast. So sometimes you get engulfed into whatever you're doing and thinking that it hasn't been 20 minutes, and you're probably wrong. It's been, an hour or whatever. So sticking to that 20 minutes is a bit tricky, but certainly important. And then the next is the 20 feet or more away. Many people work in cubicles or their home office, which is in a bedroom or a room with no window, or your desk faces the wall. So stopping and focusing on something 20 feet or more away can be challenging because there literally isn't anything 20 feet or more away. So if your environment doesn't allow you to do that, maybe consider switching your office around a little bit. So instead of facing the wall, face so that you can look out the door across the room. I'm very fortunate. My office has lots of windows, so I can focus quite far away, depending on, assuming there's no snowstorm. Anyway, so just be sure to try and do the 20-20-20, which is every 20 minutes, give your eyes a 20-second break by focusing 20 feet or further away. I dare you to give it a go. Try it. I think you might notice that your eyes improve. I certainly am focusing on it over the next while to make it more of a habit. This next one actually created quite a bit of conversation at my coffee meeting. So dedicate a screen-free time each day and try to get 3 to 4 hours a day of no screen time. And when I sat back and looked at myself, I definitely would struggle getting 3 to 4 hours a day. Now, obviously, this is 3 to 4 hours of my eyes being open during the day. Of course, I can get that much if I'm sleeping, but of my awake hours, 3 to 4 hours a day can be a challenge sometimes. It just depends on my day. I spend many hours in front of my computer working in my real estate career. I might be prospecting or building courses and websites and social media content creation. It can definitely suck up a lot of time. So finding that 3 to 4 hours, um, was kind of a bit of an eye opener for me. But it can actually be a little bit easier if you dedicate some time to, say, going for coffee. So my once a week coffee date certainly helps, but I maybe need to increase my getting out of the office time a little bit more. And of course, adding some physical activity time, where you're maybe going for a walk or you're going to the gym, taking 20 or 30 minutes at a time to just go stretch your legs where you're not looking at a device. That will certainly help. And again, the 3 to 4 hours doesn't have to be in a row. It can be just, that much time throughout the day. It needs to be not at a device. So that could be, I guess another piece that I think about for myself is I'm often on my device when I'm having my lunch during the day. Well, now I can take the time and just set that down, or even leave it in my office. And then when I go have my lunch in the house, I can have some screen-free time. So the big beast, the hardest one, the thing that consumes all of us, including our children, or many of them anyways, social media. We need to limit how much social media we consume. And as real estate agents, this is actually surprisingly challenging because a big part of many of our business plans is using social media to market our businesses. So limiting the amount of time on there is a challenge. And it's almost, it's kind of like an internal struggle because, we need to dedicate time to do it, but we sometimes struggle getting sucked into absorbing the content as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And we talked about this in length. There's many of us who would prefer to not have social media at all, but feel that we're obligated to do so because of the businesses that we're in. I would probably agree with not wanting to have social media at all. If I didn't feel like I needed it to build my business and market my company and, try and attain clients, I would probably go off social media altogether, just because I know how it can affect me. And I know that my self-control isn't as good as I would hope it would be, or where it needs to be, I guess is maybe the better way to say it, in not absorbing that content. And then there's the content, like there's that other piece of it, is that the content that you do absorb, what's the quality of it? And this actually is something that I definitely am going to focus on a little bit more and keep more top of mind. Is one of the suggestions was interact on your social media. So don't just scroll, actually interact. So make it actually social, not like a feed full of information that you're trying to absorb and scroll. So actually interact. Go comment on the people that you want to stay in touch with. Create that social interaction by actually doing something with them. So commenting on their stuff, even sending them a private message, whatever it is that works for you, but actually doing something on social media instead of that mindless scroll. And then follow people you actually know, not celebrities. Look for real life stuff, not the fake life stuff. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, where you follow all these perfect people and they have the perfect life, and then you look at your own life and go, well, why isn't my life that perfect? Or why don't I have, what they have? And then it really can turn your day around and get you into a mindset that is negative. Where if you were following real life people that you actually know, it can lift you up and you can get excited because you've maybe seen some pictures of your niece or your nephew or your good friend's new pet puppy, whatever that might be. It's real life things, things that you can actually believe are true, and will lift you up. Where that celebrity news, celebrity content, they're making that just to get followers and showing you the perfect or really cool stuff that isn't real life. So maybe try and avoid that a little bit. And then limit your social media to 30 to 60 minutes a day. I challenge you to do this. You can actually, most phones will have settings to tell you how much time you're spending on every device, or every app, to kind of gauge how you're doing. So maybe every Friday you can review your activity for the week to see how your week went, and then look at your emotional well-being for the week. So review how much time you spent on each of these apps, on your phone or on your device, and then go, how was my week? And then do it again next week. And if you see a difference in the quantity of time that you're spending, up or down, how did that affect your week? And just kind of look at it from week to week. And this is something we can do with our kids too. So kind of bring it back full circle to how this conversation started for me. We can do this for our kids. We can review how much content time that they've had on their devices, and then review their mood. How did the week go? Were they moody or were they in a great mood? Did they have, poor sleep or good sleep? All of these things, so that we can maybe start, implementing a few changes for our kids and for ourselves. Let's face it, we need to lead by example for our kids. So if we're spending 7+ hours a day on devices, how can we expect our kids to do less?